Hi everyone, it's good to be back. It's been a while since I last posted anything, so I'm just gonna catch you up on the last project I was working on before I went on hiatus. During my interactive card series, I was working on this card and I loved how it turned out. I was using the Magic Iris die from Lawn Fawn and Honeybee stamps. So I'm gonna probably link that video up very soon, but I wasn't able to finish that video from last year. And I just wanted to show you guys how much I loved the turnout. And the reason I wasn't able to finish it was unfortunately my little girl got sick and we needed to send her to the hospital, and she's been recovering really, really well and she's happy and healthy now. And just a few months after, I had to make another trip for myself because my baby was finally born. And this is her in the hospital. And since then, we've just been allowing ourselves to heal from the surgery and allowing her to grow. And here's me and my family last Christmas. And it's been a lot of fun family time. And now I think it's time to go back to work. And here we are. In fact, I've created a lot of things during my hiatus. I just wasn't able to take a video and upload it. And this is one of the few things that I created during that break. It was a shaker ornament that I gave out to some of my friends, and today that's what we're gonna make. Now, I will just start this project by coloring in my stamped image from my favorite things called Polar Bear Pals. This is one of my most favorite stamp sets ever. I've used this set so many times. It's just so much fun and I love these polar bears. And for this project, I'm using Ohuhu alcohol markers. Instead, it's been really good to use. It's a lot cheaper. So if you guys want to practice on using some alcohol markers instead of using up all your Copics for practice, then you can definitely use these. The colors are just as vibrant, I would have to say, and there's plenty of choices for colors as well. So check that out if you would like. And after cutting that out with my die, I'm just adding a little bit of detail here and there. And I decided to put a smile on my polar bear here. I just feel like it's just so much more festive with the polar bear smiling. And by the way, I had just noticed that my entire video was shot on mirror image, which makes me look like I'm left-handed, which I am not. So all the words or images that you might see here are actually mirror image. So please just disregard that. So here we are with our little polar bear skating with a festive red gear. And that's the circle background that I will be using. Now, if you do not have circle dies, it's perfectly fine. You can still create this ornament. All you need is one circle and another one that's slightly smaller that will create a border around it. Now, in this portion of the video, I'm creating a snowbank that will go next or against my background here. My background, I'm planning to do darker skies. So I want my snowbank to pop and not just color it in with white within the same circle. Instead, I'm using a separate layer for that to make it pop a little bit. Some other videos that I've seen of creating shaker dies, or shaker cards, I mean, you can layer this up by using more cardstock or using foam tape, but I decided to make it simple so that the shaker bits don't get stuck behind. Now at this portion, I am just coloring in my background, like I said, with my Gina K dye inks, and I'm using a darker shade in the background here just to make it look like it's night. And I'm using two different shades here. I think one is called In the Navy and the other one is Blue Denim. And I'm creating that darker background. And you can use any kind of background design, obviously. In some of the cards that I made or some of the shaker ornaments that I made, I added some trees, some were day, and some, it just depends on how you would want it to be. So now that you can see how the snowbank that I created just pops out of that blue, is just so cool. Like, I love how it actually does resemble a snowbank when you go outside during winter. And in the bottom there, since my little polar bear is skating, I wanted to make a little bit of ice portion, I guess. So I am just having that snowbank a little bit and adding some shading on the snow to highlight the surface of the ice and the snow. Now you can also use watercolor, colored pencils, or oil pastel if you wish, but I have no artistic or any special technique that I'm using here. I am just coloring in and having fun, and just making sure that all my colors are blended well together, and just creating shadows where it's needed and highlights where it's needed. That's all you really need to do. So just have fun with it. Don't overthink it. Although, yes, I know that is quite impossible for some of us. It is for me too sometimes. Now again, you don't have to use any special dyes, although I did for my polar bear here, but you can use any other element like I mentioned earlier. And during the holidays, I created a lot of these, and it was so much fun to do. Once you have all of your elements ready and prepared, it's like an assembly line that you just put together one after the other. And here you will see that I am just coloring, and I think the coloring part might be the most time consuming, but putting together all the stacks of rings of cardstock is not as time consuming. However, I have to point out that you will need time to let the glue dry, because stacking all of these cardstock together will take a lot of glue power, so sticking power is needed here. Now, a lot of the ornaments that I've seen is at least, or at least three ornaments that I've seen are at least 0.25 or a quarter inch thick. Now, that's a lot of cardstock if you ask me, so I use some foam sheets with this project. Now, in some videos that I've seen, when you use foam sheets with die sets or with die cuts, it gets a little bit deformed. And I noticed that as well while I was creating this project. Now, what I did to keep the shape of the foam sheet is actually giving it more time to glue to a cardstock. So that's what I did. All you need to do is give it time, let the glue do its work, and just let the shape take place or mold into the cardstock that it's stuck to. Now, going back to the video here, you can see that my little scene is starting to come together, and it's absolutely cute. Like, I love how it turned out, and like I said, you can layer this, add more dimension by adding foam tape or just putting in one cardstock ring after the other. However, I decided to just make it slightly flatter in the background and put it all in one piece, so none of my shaker bits get stuck in behind. And that's how simple it got. I just colored it in. No special dyes so far other than the one I used on the polar bear, which you can replace with any other image or holiday element or any other occasional element that you would prefer to use. So now that I've got my polar bear stuck in there, just creating some shadows at the bottom to make sure that it has that look of ice skating. And finally adding some stars or snowflakes falling down. This is one of my favorite bits, just finishing the scene right there and just making sure that everything is finished and has this complete look. And now we go to the rings. Like I said, if you have special circle dies, then that's fine. That's great. It'll make everything faster and easier. The key to this project, though, whether you're using these circle dies or any improvised circle tracing that you have, is to make it uniform, meaning it all has to be the same size. And if you have that little border around that you see to make it a ring, make sure that it's all the same size. So here you can see I'm using painter's tape to glue that together, because you don't want to keep arranging it to fit whenever you're using your die cut machine or whenever you're cutting it with your fuzzy cutting it with your scissors. You do not want to have that change every time. Now, measuring this, I'm using 3 stacks of heavy cardstock, and it only comes to 1/8 of an inch. So 3 is not a whole lot. And if you want it to be a little thicker, especially if you're using beads, you will want it to be a little thicker than just 1/8. So you can either add more layers of cardstock rings, but like I mentioned earlier, I used a foam sheet. So here we are. By using a foam sheet, it instantly adds that thickness to it. But I am putting that foam sheet, as you can see, in between layers of cardstock. So remember that. And another thing to note is when you're using the acetate for the window, do not glue the acetate straight into the foam sheet, because you will have a hard time letting that dry, and it'll be, shaking about. It's going to move around a little bit. So make sure that you, in the layers of cardstock and foam tape, make sure you stick the acetate onto a layer of cardstock and not foam tape. So here we are. We've got cardstock, 3 layers of cardstock, foam sheet, cardstock, acetate, cardstock, and then foam sheet. And with all of that, my shaker ornament is about 1/4 of an inch thick, and that's all the cardstock that I needed. So if you want it to be purely cardstock, that's okay too. Just make more rings, and that's going to work just as well. And some people feel it's a lot more sturdy, or just to use all the cardstock instead of inserting in some foam sheets in there, and that's fine too, actually. um, just this is just an alternative in case you don't want to cut as many cardstock if you like. I also put in or inserted a sheet, a very thin sheet strip of paper, as you can see here, and the inside of the card. You can do that on the outside as well, just to hide the layers from showing. I did not do that with the ornaments that I gave out, but here I'm just going to demonstrate the effect that it does. So what it does is it gives that more finished look, because you don't see the layers of paper. But in my opinion, it's just as good. I mean, it makes it look more organic when people see how much work or layers you had to make to create that. But again, the key to making any of these inserts or ribbons around is to let it dry. And I know when you're working on a project, you get so excited. You just want to jump into all the process all at once and see the finished product. But trust me, you want this to dry perfectly well. So here we are. I've got my layers ready and my ribbon is all set. And mind you, I had to speed up the video, so I skipped all the parts where it was drying. It was about 15-20 minutes. So once you've got all of your pieces put together, just stack them all up and let it dry. And while you're doing that, you can do other bits of the process. So in the back of the ornament, or on the back of the background, you can stamp in some sentiments. You can write in a special note, however you want it. Here I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Snow Builder stamp set. I'm using so much to be thankful for. There you go. I love this stamp set. I use it in a lot of my other projects. It's so cool, and you can look up how you can use or create many different styles of snow in the background. Here we are, and for my shaker bits, I'm using some blues, some aqua, some white, and depending on your design, you can use different kinds of shaker bits really. So I've used sequins, I've used beads, and all of the shiny bits that I could find, which is great. So it's just a matter of making sure that they blend cohesively with your design, and that none of them get stuck on the edges of the layers of cardstock that you have just glued in together. And now I think our shaker ornament is coming to life. As you can see, I'm just adding in my shaker bits and just making sure I have the right colors and the right amount to fill inside my shaker ornament. And just like that, it's ready to give out to your friends. You can attach this with a card or just give it as it is. And either way, it's such a fun way to give out something to your friends in addition to cards or any gifts. This is just so personalized. You can write their family names on it. You can do anything you'd like. And this is what I did with some of my friends. I just gave it all out and just put some weight on that to make sure that it dries well. And here you are, a really cool shaker ornament that you can give out to your friends. Now I hope that you guys give this project a try. You can make this for any other occasion, not just for Christmas. And it is such a nice, cute gift to give out to all your friends and loved ones. And I hope that you guys come back for more. So please subscribe to Plan B Works for more affordable crafting, resourceful hacks, and easy techniques. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.